Welcome to the Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I am Tim Capper. You can find me on Twitter at Repact. That's REPPACT.
And I'm Cliffy D. You can also find me on Twitter, but at Cliffy D. And this episode of the Alouettes Flightdeck is presented by our good friends over at SportBuff, where right now you can save 10% off your entire order by using the promo code FlightDeck-10. Head on over to sportbuffshop.com for all your sportsing needs.
And also, we are on social media, many places. You know them. If not, we're going to tell them to you anyways. We are on Twitter. You can find us at Alouettes FLDeck. Instagram, look us up for Alouettes Flightdeck. Facebook, Alouettes Flightdeck Pod. YouTube, almost there. You still have to currently search for us under Alouettes Flightdeck, but we are 5. Count them. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. I can count. 5 people away from getting to 100. That infamous goal that we've been shooting for a while, which will unlock that Delta jacket, which we've been so willing to give away all this time. Just 5 people will join, get us to 100, and then we will give that away. Give it away. Cliff can't have it. I can't have it. Nobody in our families can have it because, those are just the rules. And
we don't make the rules.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. And finally, merch. Yes, sir. We do have merch. Head over to teespring.com/stores/Al's Flight Deck. Rep the show. Check out our 2022 line of merchandise. Cliff, I have a care package coming in very shortly. I know you are in the process of ordering one also with some new swag. And maybe, just maybe, Uncle Tim will have an unboxing on YouTube. Because if you didn't notice already, if you didn't see it on social, we're trying to do more of a video content besides the podcast itself, but things that are associated with the Owls and with the podcast. We had our very first card break. The biggest rage these days. No, it wasn't live. I'm sure it would have done it a lot better on TikTok, but you know what? Still, if you haven't seen what the Upper Deck cards look like this year for the Alouettes, specifically our team set, head over to our YouTube page and check it out. As I said, things to come when it comes to YouTube and us doing video with our faces in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, it's very exciting stuff. We want to produce as much content as we can, not just listening to the Alouettes Flight Deck, but we want you to watch the Alouettes Flight Deck in so many ways, and we want to really get you folks excited about the Alouettes and about this show. So please tune in, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, get entered in the contest for the satin jacket. Check us out on social media. We are here for you.
And also, I want to congratulate the winner of this week's SportBuff Flight Cruise seats to Kyle Zinklusen. Kyle, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. But he was the winner of those 2 free tickets. And you, too, could also be the winner for future games. Stay tuned for the next draw, which will be our game on September 2nd, I think it is. Yep, September 2nd. So stay tuned for next week's show, and we will announce when the contest will go live, or you can have the chance at winning the SportBuff Flight Crew seats for 2 to see the Alouettes play the Ottawa Red Blacks in Montreal.
Labor Day weekend, no less.
Yes, sir. It was an exciting game. We have to get into it. It was the return game with the Alouettes and the Blue Bombers. A game
so exciting that 60 minutes simply wasn't enough.
Right, and I wanted to ask you a question specifically about that, Cliff. If I were to give you 3 options, which is the one that made you the most excited or gave you the biggest reaction? Okay, here they are, in no particular order. 1, the missed field goal at the end of regulation.
Mm-hmm.
2, Tyson Philpott trying to return that kick out of the end zone so it doesn't go as a single and ends the game. Or 3, the ball of the field goal try off the uprights to give the Owls the win in overtime.
Wow. I think I'd have to go with, I guess 1 and 2 would be tied because they kind of bled into each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had to laugh. Like, The seconds are ticking down. It seems like an elementary field goal. Like this is just a foregone conclusion. Okay, the Alouettes, they gave it the old college try. They did so well. They they really got it together, but you just aren't going to beat these Blue Bomb. What the fudge?
Exactly.
What? That really was. That was my reaction more than anything else.
Oh, I was too. Yeah.
And then almost immediately, like, first of all, the shock kind of hit me, and then kind of afterwards, I actually had to watch it on the replay, like watching Tyson Philpott have the presence of mind to get the hell out of the end zone.
I was just about to say that counted. For a rookie, literally a true Canadian rookie, to have that mindset, a 22-year-old to have that mindset, he's been taught well to get that ball. And remember, he's not our full-time returner. For him to have that mindset to get the ball out of the end zone like he did.
I mean, and that's special teams right there. Like, I'm pretty sure Byron Archambault had told him, look, just in case somehow Legio doesn't make this kick, you got the ball, get the hell out of the end zone by any means necessary.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's exactly what Philpott did. And credit to him, because that completely turned the game on a dime.
For sure.
Holy crap, for all the talk of how IG Field is the loudest field in the Canadian Football League. And yes, absolutely, it is extremely loud. And you could hear it was boisterous. And no, they didn't need air horns. So, if you want that trophy, Winnipeg fans, you can have it. But at that point, the game, I even tweeted about it. I said, you could hear a mouse fart in IG Field right now. That's how quiet it was. Like, I have never heard that place so full, like 30,000 plus fans, dead quiet. Like, people are just in shock. Like, what just happened?
I'm curious to know if it exists, because we know that with TSN mics up everything for the broadcasts, and as does the RDS. But I'm curious to know if there was an audio clip after the field goal is missed. And Philpott running to get the ball, is everybody on the sideline yelling, "Run!"
I'll bet. Like, first of all, like I guarantee everybody on the sideline was just like, "What the heck?" Because again, it was such like the way this field goal was set up. Like, Winnipeg did an incredible job marching themselves down the field, burning the clock, doing everything they could to essentially make this a walk-off field goal. This game should have ended right there and then. Like. Simple as that. And that's just, that's football. That's the way it goes. As I said, I was actually proud of the Alouettes for hanging tough, and they gave it their effort. And, okay, there's no shame in losing this game. And then what happens? Legio bricks it. And
where was that? Because it looked like the hold and the snap, laces were out. He just pooched it.
He did. And once again, credit to Philpott for having the presence of mind, get out of the end zone. You don't have to take it back. That would have been awesome if you took it all the way back for the game-winning score.
Yeah, no kidding.
Holy crap, that would have been incredible. But, no, just get out. Okay, and now we have a brand new game.
Yes, sir.
And in overtime, as we know, anything can happen. Anything can truly happen, especially with both of these teams. Like last year, Montreal won a thriller in Hamilton. And, of course, the Grey Cup, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, won a thriller in overtime. So, these two teams are not strangers to free football. Literally, truly, anything could happen. So it was incredible. Just the dizzying highs and the lows, like the real roller coaster ride that these two teams took all of their fans on last Thursday was nothing short of incredible.
Well, I think what's funny is that how these two teams have such a rich history when it comes to crazy games, because if you think about it, this will go down into the annals within that list of Alouette Bomber games, which have been just absolutely nutballs. So this will go into this one. This one will be added to that 24-point comeback in Montreal, and this will be added to the 12-point collapse in Winnipeg.
Do you feel like the football gods were kind of like they remembered that collapse in 2017, or like, you know what? We owe you guys, so here you go. Like, this was, I don't want to say payback necessarily, but there's just kind of like a trying to right a wrong, so to speak.
Hey, it's very potential. Hey, if they want to forget about the comeback in Montreal and give us this 1-2 in Winnipeg, I'll take it. For those of you who don't know, by the way, Owls won 20-17 in overtime. It was I have the stats here. It's right here because I was going back and forth.
Shocking.
Yes, shocker. They're now 7-6-1 lifetime in overtime in the regular season. Lifetime they are 8-9-1. By the way, I know we're off topic just quickly, but what was the one tie, Cliff?
One tie was against Hamilton.
Bing! Good boy. There you go. This gentleman knows. Hey, for you to be a co-host for an Alouettes podcast, Cliff knows his stuff.
Well, it's easy to remember, too, because that was the first fan train the Alouettes did since they came back.
We were both there, right?
There.
Yeah, and yet we didn't know each other. We were both there. We didn't know each other.
Exactly. Exactly.
We were on the same train, didn't know, and he did. It's so funny how paths cross.
It's wild. I mean, that's the one uniting factor more than anything else, though, is Montreal Alouettes football, and we got to support our team no matter what, right?
Exactly. So, that was fun. Remember it. That was a fun trip. Anyways,
it was. It absolutely was.
Yeah. The game, the box score was identical throughout the game itself, except for the in overtime. Let's talk about the team here, because for the second week in a row, the defense just was superb, and we hope going into this week's game versus Hamilton that it stays the same, because for this team to be able to, fourth quarter aside in the first game, fourth quarter aside, the defense had, they were just all over Caleros the entire time. They were able to control the line of scrimmage, sacks, interceptions. They did it this week too.
Forced fumbles.
Yeah. I remember screaming at the top of my lungs when that happened.
Mike Moore on this defensive line has just been a beast. Like he really, really stood out last Thursday, and he is living rent free in Zach Caleros' head. I mean, he was just all over him like a cheap suit. It was incredible. Yeah, just great play. I mean, all the defensive line for the most part has really stepped up this year, and they've all had their moments in the sun, so to speak. And this past Thursday, it was Mike Moore's turn to really be that. Who what? Whoa, wow, who's that? Oh my gosh, that's Mike Moore. Okay, yeah. And he was sensational. I mean, and that was the key, was getting a lot of pressure in Caleros and just forcing a lot of 2-and-outs, which Montreal's defense did a very good job of. I mean, the big difference between this past Thursday's game versus 2 weeks ago when the Blue Bombers were here in Montreal was, for the most part, they managed to control Zach Caleros, but there was also times too where the Alouettes would do something and then Winnipeg would respond right back. Yeah. I didn't see a whole lot of that last Thursday. Like it was back and forth in some instances, but there was just a lot of times where just both teams honestly kind of struggled, but at the same time keeping each other honest. Oh no, if that makes any sense.
For sure. And by the way, speaking of Mike, he was tied for the team lead in tackles this past week, but the one big thing that set him apart, obviously, was the 2 quarterback sacks for a loss of 15 yards. So
that's it. I mean, like that's the key. Like you got to get in the quarterback's kitchen. That's really what makes a good defensive line. Like that's the start right there, and just being able to control it, being able to dominate the offensive line, the opposing offensive line, and get to the quarterback is crucial. I mean, that's really where you're gonna make an impact, and that's how they make mistakes. And Zach Caleros, for the most part, is still very much an elite quarterback. Like he's still managed to make plays happen. I mean, let's not forget Winnipeg's first touchdown. I mean, he should have been sacked many times over, but somehow he just wiggled free and just threw up a prayer to Dalton Shawn.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah. Just frustrating as an Owls fan. Frustrating as an Owls fan, but it was in hindsight. Now you look at it, and it's somebody made a comment on social media. I think it was, "This is what it's like to throw a touchdown on the All-Star setting of Madden," which I think is a pretty good analogy.
That's a very fair analogy.
Yeah. Since we're giving the defense some love, we also got, and was very important, specifically one of these, but Mike Jones and Wes Sutton, guy we've talked about for a lot of the season for other reasons, 2 huge knockdowns,
big time. And Sutton also had a sack which led to a forced fumble. I mean, put it this way, folks: as bad as he's been this year, that's how good he was last Thursday against Winnipeg. And it showed, and the league sat up and took notice as well, because he was nominated as one of the players of the week this week.
Yeah.
So hats off to Wesley Sutton. Like, he went from wearing the goat horns, and now he's getting his flowers from the league. And that's just hard work. That's just, obviously he didn't get down on himself. I'm sure he knew, okay, I made mistakes. I did bad things. I just got to put my nose to the grindstone and keep working hard. And that's what he's done. And I'll give him credit. Like, the past couple of games, he's turned himself around. He's improved drastically. Like, he looks like he belongs on this football team again. And that's great, because he looked good last year in spurts. This year, though, he kind of started hot, got really cold, and now he's kind of, looks like he's trying to finally starting to find his form, which is fantastic. And it couldn't have come at a better time, because this team needs help in the secondary. This team needs the secondary to be that force, that driving force on defense. Mm-hmm. And if Wesley Sutton can keep having games like that, like he did against Winnipeg, that's just great. That's gonna be a confidence boost that is gonna make him that much better and make this defense that much better as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a sight. As I said, the defense stepped up again for this, and again, I'm sure Owls fans had their reservations when it came to the fourth quarter. We were tired again. I was like, oh no, now what? And then Winnipeg scores, and we're like, oh boy. And
right there, that was some really shoddy tackling when Brady Oliveira basically pinballed his way into the end zone.
Yep.
I mean, that was kind of cringeworthy. I'm not going to lie. Like that. I'm pretty sure the defense looked at that afterwards and like, oh God, no, don't.
Yeah, but then hey, then we got they were driving again. We got the fumble, and that's again that's what started it all. I mean, it's this game what really was that even, Cliff. I mean, both teams had 54 plays. It's stupid. Both teams had 54 plays overall. Basically both teams had 30 minutes of ball control.
Yeah, both teams, their field goal kickers were good and bad. Mm-hmm. Both teams' running attacks were pretty solid. Both teams' quarterback play was good at times. So lots of exciting plays. I mean, this was about as evenly matched a game, I should say, that you're going to find. And it's hard to believe, because Winnipeg was coming into this game 9-0,
exactly,
whereas the Alouettes were 2-6. I mean, on paper, this was a mismatch yet again. But these two teams, I don't know what it is. There's something about when it comes to Winnipeg this year and playing teams from the East, and no matter how bad the East has been this year, and let's be honest, folks, the East has been pretty bad this year. But for some reason, I can't explain why, but Winnipeg has always seemed to get played really tough by these Eastern teams. Whether it was Ottawa, Toronto, Hamilton, or even this home series against Montreal. I mean, they had to fight for that win in Montreal.
Yeah, totally different than the original back-to-back this season with Saskatchewan. Completely different. And I love that type of thing. I mean, it just has to continue.
Yeah. It really does. But that's the thing. Like, this team, when they believe in themselves, when they get it figured out, yeah, you can put points on the board and you can hang with these guys. That's great. And again, I will still go ahead and say, though, that it wasn't so much that Montreal won the game, more like Winnipeg lost the game. And we'll talk about that shortly. But I mean,
yeah,
kudos to the Alouettes. They did what they had to do. They got out of Winnipeg with a win, a win they desperately needed.
Yeah.
To even stay on pace with Hamilton and Toronto for the CFL East.
Exactly. First time in team history that the Alouettes have gone up against a team that was 9-0 and beaten them. It is the longest winning streak that the Alouettes have ever had to face in an opponent in their history also. So it's, because there are, I think it's like when it comes to record longest winning streaks to start a season, Winnipeg is up there in CFL history with their 9-0 start. So to beat a team at 9-0, hey, props to the Alouettes. Trevor Harris, 18-27, 213 yards, no interceptions, key, no touchdowns,
also key.
Dominic Davis, he only had 8 yards, and I'm starting with him on purpose here, Cliff, because I know they call it the Lambeau Leap, because there was a story actually in the paper this week by Herb Zurkowski about this whole thing. Is there something that we could call it in Winnipeg instead of the Lambeau Leap?
Well, that's the thing. IG Field. I mean,
the IG jump
doesn't exactly.
No, it really doesn't. But you got to admit, though, the reaction from the fans when he did that, even Dominic mentioned this too. He got a slap upside the head from that fan, man, and I think his comment was I don't know if it was pretty spot on, but he goes, "Thank God that dude didn't have a knife."
Oh, well.
That's how he said it in the story. So, but what was your thought on that?
It made me laugh because let's not forget, Dominique Davis is a former Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Mm-hmm. So he knows what it's like to play in that stadium and play for that city and to be a member of the Blue Bombers. So for him to do that, especially all the machinations that came about with getting that touchdown, that tying touchdown.
Which we need to talk about.
I mean, oh my gosh. It was quite the bold strategy to quarterback sneak from the 5-yard line. I didn't understand it. I really didn't understand it, but we'll talk about it here. The day, so Joshua Antwi, Tavian Feaster actually started, which was something we totally missed on the depth chart. But Feaster led the team with 39 yards. Antwi had 23. In your opinion, Cliff, based on how the game was going, 15 rushes, grand total of 62 yards. Is that enough? I mean, Feaster did have 3 runs of over 10. He did. He was literally feasting.
Yep. Are you happy with it? I mean, it was funny. Davis actually had 7 carries, but that's because most of them were on that one drive.
Right.
So.
No, and again, I was glad to see Feaster get in there, and he definitely made his presence felt. I mean, we expect Joshua Antwi to do well, and he put in a solid effort as well. It was kind of weird though, because again, this Winnipeg defense is so tough to play against. I mean, you really can't catch them napping, and when you're going up against guys like Willie Jefferson and Jackson Jeff Coat, I mean, it's so tough. It almost feels like you're throwing your running back to the wolves, regardless of who is playing. But to his credit, Feaster played a very solid game. Antwi as well. They both had a couple of nice chunk plays that helped move the chains. I would have liked to see them used a little bit more, obviously, maybe, especially too, there were still a couple of times where Trevor Harris was just not able to move the ball, but when he was able to move it, he did extremely well. So I will give Trevor credit for that. I mean, he made a couple of passes too that probably had no business making and completing.
No kidding.
My goodness.
No kidding.
Jake Winnipeg. First of all, kudos to the Alouettes for realizing that, hey, we have a Jake Winnipeg in our frickin' lineup. Maybe we should use this guy. Because, holy cow, he didn't score any touchdowns, but he got those crucial first downs to help get the Alouettes into scoring position. And talk about throwing into traffic. I mean, I think Winnipeg was quintuple covered at one point. He had.
It looked like it.
I mean, may as well call him a burger joint because he had 5 guys around him.
There you go. That was nice.
And he made the catch, not once but twice in traffic.
Yeah,
and. My goodness, wow. I mean, Jake Winnipeg, that's the Jake Winnipeg we've come to expect. That's the Jake Winnipeg we've been looking for, waiting patiently for this year. Mm-hmm. And listen, if this means that he's second half Jake, if this means he's going to be more than just first down Jake, we get back to having him being touchdown Jake, I'm excited. That, and you should be excited too, Alouettes Nation, because a healthy, productive Jake Winnipeg is only going to make this team even better at the receiver position.
Yeah. Oh no, I completely agree. Speaking of Jake, he did lead the team with 5 receptions on 7 targets for 66 yards. KJG had 50 yards on 2 catches. Joshua Antwi actually was able to contribute in the passing game too. He had 3 receptions for 30 yards. Reggie White, 4 receptions, 41 yards. Who did I forget here? Herdy Mayala had 1 for 11, which if I remember correctly, it was a nice reception too. Mm-hmm. But again, Gino, he only had 8 yards. We've seen Gino play hurt before. I think it just goes to show also this week that he is limited in practice because supposedly it is an issue with his hip. But going away from the league leader in passing yards and receiving yards, they were able to do what they needed to do. They were last week. Danny Mac was saying that you need to stop centering on one player the most. They did. Look how many players caught a pass this week,
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's very easy too for Winnipeg to double or even triple team Gino. So obviously that had to be in Anthony Calzville's mind when he was coming up with plays for Trevor and company. So that's the thing. You've got to spread this ball in this offense. I mean, you cannot just focus on one particular guy, even though, yes, I mean, Gino Lewis, you throw the ball up and 9 times out of 10, he's going to come down with it and make a beautiful play. But that's what people expect. So obviously Winnipeg knew that as well. And no doubt they were doing everything they can to make his life miserable. So in that case, that's where you find the Jake Winnickes, the Hergy Mayalas, the Kion Julian Grants, and even Tyson Philpott if need be. Like, you got weapons in this war chest, so you got to use them to your full advantage. And yeah, to Trevor's credit, he did a pretty decent job of spreading the ball around and moving the chains.
Yep, exactly. Have to at least mention Zach Collaros, 21 of 27 for 251 yards, no interceptions, 1 TD. Leading rusher was Brady Oliveira. Oliveira, yes. Brady Olive Garden, 15 carries for 84 yards. And Schoen had to lead. Yeah, he's coming on. Rookie, man. Got to be leading contender for Rookie of the Year.
Did we know? Is it very possible, Tim, that we just saw in this match, like, the Western nominee for Rookie of the Year and the Eastern nominee playing each other?
Yep, for sure.
Is that so crazy to think that?
Not at all.
It could be Dalton Shawn and Tyson Philpott as the rookies of the year, so to speak, like East and West? I
am not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue that, because Schoen has just come on. Like, he's become the guy, even though he only had 3 targets. It was still, again, we were talking about that touchdown. Jeez. But yeah. So,
and that's with Greg Ellingson back in the lineup for Winnipeg too. And that's, as I said, he's their DPI magnet. And sure enough, I forget who it was that got burned by him, but I mean, like, that's just what he does. He draws those DPI penalties. But Dalton Shawn, he has really come alive. He has really made his name heard, just like Tyson Philpott has for Montreal. I mean, if this is the future, folks. Like, be excited, because these are 2 very phenomenal young players that haven't even scratched the surface to reaching their potential yet. So, I mean, you want to talk about playmakers, like people you want to get behind, like people you want to support in this league for years to come. Those are 2 pretty good candidates right there, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Penalties, which have been a contentious issue most of the season. Niles did pretty good, only 5 penalties for 60 yards. That was a plus, considering how worse it was in other games this week.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Yes.
The one thing that is concerning, though, is their second down conversion, Cliff. Only at a 30% clip. They were only 6 for 20 on second downs.
Yeah. No, and we've talked about how Anthony Calvillo has taken it upon himself to try and improve that stat and try to improve the production on second down. And it's crucial. I mean, there's no question about it, folks. You've got to move the chains. You've got to get into the red zone. You've got to score touchdowns or field goals, but mostly touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And we thought for a while that maybe AC finally has it figured out. Maybe he finally was able to put plays together that can help Trevor Harris and company become the team that gets those first downs and gets those touchdowns in the red zone and so on and so forth. And for the most part, the production has been there. Didn't see a whole lot of it last Thursday. But I mean, give them credit. Like, once they got it figured out, and really truly, it was survival. Like, this team had to survive against Winnipeg, and I really didn't think Winnipeg played their best game either offensively. I mean, like, they took a while to get going as well. I mean, it was really interesting. Like, a lot of people would probably say this was the first half of this football game was a very tight defensive effort. I would probably call it a snooze fest, but I mean, that's me. I like exciting. I like
scoring too. I like scoring too. But the way
we like offense. Yes, defense wins championships, folks, but offense, that's what people tune in for. And we didn't get a whole lot of that first half. But both these teams got themselves figured out, kept it competitive throughout the second half. I mean, like I said, to the point where after Montreal scored the tying touchdown, knowing full well you got 2 minutes and change and you're giving the ball back to Winnipeg, you just got to keep them honest. You got to just stop them. And unfortunately, that ensuing kickoff, that didn't happen. There was some special teams, razzle dazzle. Janarian Grant really put the Bombers in a very good position and pretty much put Montreal on their heels. And as I said, I thought that just the way that Zach Collaros, once he's on, he just knows how to move the ball downfield, and he did everything he could to help the Blue Bombers win this game. All Mark Leggio had to do was just kick that field goal, and somehow, some way, there was just that disconnect.
Yeah, it's just, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the kick, everything seemed to be true except for the kick. And I got the comment. I don't remember who made the comment on social, and I responded back to it. It's like, again, like you said, Montreal didn't win, Winnipeg lost. I'll say the same thing to you, Cliff. Montreal still has an extra 2 points in the win column, in the standings.
100%. I'll say that they survived.
They did. That's the best word. Yes, they won. They survived for the win.
They got the W. That's the thing. They got the W, and that was something they desperately needed. Like, I think it would have been very foolhardy to assume or think that Winnipeg would have gone 18-0 this year, and I think even they probably wouldn't have wanted that, just because of the ultimate pressure that comes with trying to live up to that each and every single week, and knowing full well too that they've got they got some tough games ahead of them as well. They've got the Labor Day Classic and the Banjo Bowl coming up. I mean, they've got their own bit of toughness that they're going to have to come. They're going to have to find a way to rebound from this loss. And I'm sure, no doubt, they take it as a loss. Like, they were no doubt embarrassed because they should have been able to take this game from Montreal, and they didn't. So I think now, as badly as Montreal needed this win, and make no mistake, folks, they needed this win. I think Winnipeg now, a little bit of the pressure is off. Now we don't have to worry about going 18-0. Now we can just focus on playing the kind of football that we know how to do. And again, they're still the team to beat as far as I'm concerned. I mean, BC's coming on really strong right now. They're looking amazing.
Nathan Warwick, what the hell?
This kid's on another. I am not looking forward to the BC game against Montreal in a couple of weeks. If
the defense stays as good as it does, though, see, that's what I'm saying to you, Cliff. If the defense can mimic each other from the past 2 weeks and stay the course, again, we're not looking ahead to the BC game. Obviously, we're looking ahead to the game versus Hamilton, but still, the defense something seems to be going right. The offense, I think the offense just needs to catch up. Yeah,
but again, what it always comes down to is, as far as I'm concerned, Winnipeg is still the team to beat. But I think now the pressure of not having to worry about going 18-0 this year is off for them. I think they'll get themselves back on track, and they're still going to be a very dangerous team to play come playoff time. As far as I'm concerned, like, they are very much a very complete football team. And Bomber fans, I'm sure you're depressed. I'm sure you're annoyed or even insulted that the Alouettes managed to steal one from the Bombers, but don't be. I mean, like, this is a very good football team you have. You should be extremely proud of their efforts.
And
look, it took overtime.
Yeah, exactly. Took overtime, and dear God, I hate their For the W uniforms. Oh God, By the way, remember how you and I were talking? I don't remember, it was off air or on air that you and I were talking that because they were going to wear their For the W unis with their blue pants, that we were going to have to go all white again. Nope. Whoever made that choice was like, nope, the Owls are going to go on their blue pants.
Yeah.
Don't go all white again. We know what happens when you play Winnipeg in all white.
Yeah. And I wonder now if Winnipeg is going to avoid playing Montreal in all blue. Like, maybe we shouldn't be doing these color games, these gimmicky color games. Like, why don't we just play in our usual uniforms and leave it at that? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a thought. Yeah. Take it or leave it. But.
Yeah, I agree. But yes, with the win, Owls now 3 wins on the year. We have a tough game coming up versus Hamilton, because Hamilton really has, in the past history, they have owned the Owls at Percival Molson. But before we talk about that and everything that leading up to it, including practice that's occurred so far this week, not having a depth chart because the game is not on a Thursday. It's on Saturday. It's on an afternoon game, baby. Hopefully this can become more of a tradition, at least 1 or 2 Saturday games during the summer itself. But there was something that you had said on social media, and I know we're not trying to. It's just something that you made, a promise that you made to, I guess, to the fans, to Gary Stern, our owner, if the Owls did happen to win one of the two games in this 2-game series versus the Bombers.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'll be honest, like I really didn't have faith at the Alouettes as they sat. I didn't think they could beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, whether it was at home at Percival Molson Stadium, and I sure as heck didn't think you can go to IG Field in Winnipeg and get a win there. Like, so I said, like, you know, I really don't think this team has the chops to do it. And Gary Stern, the owner of the Montreal Alouettes, politely disagreed with me. You know, kind of suggested like, hey, you know, this team's good. This team has what it takes. Blah blah blah. You know, all that stuff. And I said, okay, let's have some fun with it. So I said, and I was willing to do it. Like, if the Alouettes manage to win just one of these two games, because I definitely don't think they'll win two games. In fact, I said I don't think you'll win any of those games. If the Montreal Alouettes manage to win just one of these two games versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I will make a charitable donation to the Montreal Alouettes Foundation in Gary Stern's name. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, like I said, as we were watching Mark Leggio line up for that, what should have been a walk-off field goal win, I thought, okay, well, you know, my wallet's safe. And then watching the kick sail off to the side, wide right, like, I'm sorry, wide left. I'm like, oh, and then the return. And like, as soon as Montreal kicked that field goal to go up, like, okay, Winnipeg should match this and it'll be fun. Let's see what happens. Like, there's no way Leggio is going to brick this again. Like, there's just no way. He's been doing the job for the most part for Winnipeg this year as far as field goals go. He hasn't been perfect, obviously. Nobody has, really, when you think about it. But I had a feeling that Leggio would at least get this game tied. We have another mini game to go. Mm-hmm. But then he doinked it. And it was so funny because David Cote doinked another field goal. And people were giving him the gears over it as well. Mm-hmm. on which I don't know why people hate David Cote so much, because he's good. He really is a good kicker. But I digress. When Leggio bricked the kick again and the Alouettes get the W, first of all, I'm sitting on my couch in shock, in absolute shock. Like, did we just win in Winnipeg? And they're like, oh, I've got to make a donation, don't I? So I said, okay, you know what? I'm a man of my word. I said I would do it. And I was more than happy to do it. So I wasn't doing it for likes. I wasn't doing it for clout or any of that bullshit. You know, I said, listen, I said I would do it. I'm happy to do it. And you can see it online, folks. We tweeted it out from my Twitter account. Yep. And I think the Flight Deck account retweeted it. Yep. But just to say, and I hope other people follow my example as well. You know, just I think the Montreal Alouettes Foundation is a great organization, a great charity. So I was very happy to help donate to that. And, you know, if my example helps others reach into their wallets and help donate as well, and it doesn't even have to be to the Alouettes Foundation. I just chose them because it's, to me, the best way to pay homage to the Alouettes for doing what I thought was, quite frankly, impossible. Right. So, you know, like, folks, if you want to donate to another charity, by all means, I mean, if you're able to do so, then, you know, it behooves you to do that as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. And if you want to do it in honor of Gary Stern or the Alouettes or whomever, you know, that's your choice as well. Like, to me, I just felt, okay, you know what? I wanted to have some fun with Mr. Stern, have some fun with this, you know, this little repartee we had. And, you know, believe me, I am extremely happy to lose a bet like that, because that means the Alouettes won. That means the Alouettes did something that, quite frankly, nobody expected to happen. I mean, if you were going to win a game against the Blue Bombers, it would have been at home against Montreal, right. In Montreal. Yeah. I'm sorry, but going to IG Field, where they really do have 30,000 fans there making noise without air horns, you know, like they made their own natural noise. So props to them. I mean, as I said, you know, whatever little prize you want to give yourselves for that, by all means, go ahead and do so. But the fact that Montreal went in there and they survived. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. They didn't win convincingly, and I didn't say it had to be a convincing win. I just said they had to get out of there with the win, and they did. Not the way I think anybody expected it to happen, but a win's a win. As you said, it's 2 points in the standings that Montreal now has more. Winnipeg, unfortunately, they're now 9-1. I mean, that's nothing to be ashamed of. Don't get me wrong, but this is a game that they had not one but two opportunities to close out and get the W for. Yeah. And they couldn't do it. So props to the Alouettes. They did what they had to do. It wasn't pretty by any stretch. I don't think any of their wins have been pretty this year, but regardless, they got the job done. And I couldn't be prouder of these guys. And I'm more than happy to own up and say, you know what? I was wrong. I didn't believe in this team. And I'm more than happy to say, I'm more than happy to make a donation to the Alouettes as a result. And I if other people want to follow suit, by all means, I highly encourage it. And let's hope this is the start of something big. Let's hope this is the start of a winning streak. I am down for a good winning streak right now.
Yeah, me too. As I mentioned before, we have our. I should have looked this up, but we have a game this week versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats. It seems like a lot of the prognosticators, quote unquote, are choosing the Ticats to win. I think it was 5 out of 6, if I remember correctly. Currently, the Alouettes are a 3-point favorite, which is basically it's the given 3 points to a home team.
It's the hometown rub.
Yeah, absolutely. Hometown rub. So that's according to 5 dimes. But there have also been some changes too to the rosters itself, which are leading in this, because I said we'll talk about what's been happening with practice this week, which I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't go. It was held today over at Percival Molson. Didn't get a chance to get out of work during lunchtime and go see them practice. Would have been cool to see. But from what I'm understanding, it's very possible there's going to be something down the line where fans will be able to see the team practice again at Percival Molson. But that's to come once we hear more information. But again, I think let's go over the roster changes that they had, and the first surprising one, which I'll bring up first, Cliff, because it was broken and tweeted out by Herb Zurkowski less than an hour ago since we're taping this, or just over an hour ago. It's very possible that Rodney Randall Jr. has been released. Thoughts?
A bit surprising because we expected a lot out of him this year. He's been one of those defensive backs that have been truly outstanding at the best of times, but there's been some times this year where he's just looked embarrassed. He's been embarrassed, quite frankly. He'd burned on touchdowns or gotten penalties that would lead to touchdowns. Mm-hmm. One glaring example would be against Hamilton at Tim Hortons Field a couple of weeks ago. I forget. I think it was. I want to say Braylon. It was Tim White. He had pretty much wrapped up and like basically had a handful of his collar. I'm sorry, but that was just egregious DPI. They're going to call that every single time. But except they didn't exactly call it. Hamilton had the challenge to show that, hey, this dude just got a whole bunch of collar in his hands. So I'm not saying that's the reason why the Alouettes lost that game in Hamilton. But, there's been a few instances of that where he's just been a little too grabby with opposing teams' jerseys. Mm-hmm. And that's for a team that has been raked over the coals as far as discipline goes. That if that's not a lack of discipline, I don't know what is. And that could have pretty much been the tipping point for Rodney Randall. Was like, dude, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep getting burned. You can't keep drawing these penalties. Especially too when we said the reason we're getting rid of Baron Miles and Kari Jones is because they can't keep their players under control. Well, guess what? Neither can Noel Thorpe and Danny Machoja at this rate. And you cannot make this organization look foolish by any stretch. So I have a feeling that was pretty much the reason why Randall is being shown the door, if that's truly what's happening. And listen, it's unfortunate because, as I said, Rodney Randall last year showed a lot of promise. I fully expected him to be one of those stars that would step up alongside of a Greg Reed or Marc-Antoine Decour to really become a star on this defense. Mm-hmm. And it's just been middling at best, to tell you the truth. So it's unfortunate, but that's what football is, unfortunately, is just what have you done for me lately? And if all you're doing is bad things like drawing penalties and letting the other opposing players score touchdowns, then unfortunately you're going to be shown the door eventually. Yeah.
What were the other changes to the roster, or additions or subtractions to the roster that we had this week?
The one addition right now that I'm very excited about.
And by the way, this is true. Cliffy's just not saying this for effect. Before the show, Cliff was he was giddy as a schoolgirl. Anyways, continue.
Well, listen, for a team that I've talked about how the secondary has just been manhandled for the most part and seems to be a work in progress at best. They need all the help they can get, especially when you lose a Greg Reed as well, defensively.
Yeah.
Like you need all the help you can get, especially too, like Rodney Randall's not getting the job done. Mike Jones has been fantastic.
Yep.
He's definitely been a bright spot. Very, very savvy move to pick him up. But still, for these spurts of good, you're also getting lots of bad, and that had to change. And I think with the addition of Raheem Wilson, formerly of the Calgary Stampeders, I think that's going to change tremendously. And I can't help but wonder if the addition of Raheem Wilson, who's on the practice roster as of today, as of taping this, I can't help but wonder if with the release of Rodney Randall, that now Raheem Wilson, who may now become a part of this, like you could see him in the starting lineup against the Hamilton Tiger Cats this Saturday. Like this is a player that can make a lot of noise. Like he was absolutely outstanding for Calgary the past couple of seasons. I don't know what happened this year. I think it may have just been a numbers game. I mean, their defense has always been outstanding. Like they always find ways in their secondary to make plays happen. And Raheem Wilson, I guess, just became the odd man out, ended up being released, which was a shock. And pretty much everybody had said it's just going to be a matter of time before someone snaps him up. And I'm like, oh, it'd be nice if Montreal snaps him up. But thought, I don't know if they feel the same way that I do. Turns out they do. They signed Wilson, and I'm very happy about that. So I fully expect him, once he gets into the lineup, he gets the defensive play down. I think this is going to be a much needed boost for this secondary. There's someone that you can get plays made, like a real playmaker, like a Ciante Evans or Tommy Campbell was back in 2019 for the Alouettes. I think Raheem Wilson, he's cut from that same cloth. Also, those two are former Stampeders as well, so he's got that sort of that Stampeder DNA in him. So if that's the case, if he can bring that to Montreal and really help this defense along, folks, this could be one of those under the radar acquisitions. I don't know if I could really consider it under the radar though, but this could be one of those acquisitions that Calgary's loss is Montreal's gain, and I'm here for it. I am here for this defense getting better every single day, and I think adding Raheem Wilson will definitely do that for Montreal.
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess it can just make us that much better. So I mean, it's I'm happy with the game itself coming up. Again, a Saturday game. I guess we keep forgetting how many Saturday games we had last year, but last year season just seemed like a blip considering when all the Saturday games were. But Hamilton has come into Montreal and won the last 5. I think it's 6 of 7 or 5 of 6, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they've had a number quite recently at Percival Molson.
Yeah, there was a time when Hamilton couldn't buy a win at Percival Molson Stadium, but that has certainly changed, as you said, over the past 6-7 games.
Yeah. So it's
and just regardless, like whether it was a blowout or just a tightly contested contest, like Hamilton just found ways to win here. And yeah, I think Montreal realizes too. They had to realize just how things have been. Like they've already played Hamilton once this year and was able to hang with them. And actually, it made for a very exciting game towards the end. Could we see a repeat of that here in Montreal? Possibly. Could be interesting.
Yeah. Looking at what happened in practice this week, again, Trevor Harris was banged up for the first 2 practices on Monday and Tuesday. Same thing that happened last week. Hopefully, whatever it is that is ailing him will get better. Same thing with Gino. Gino did not, he's been limited the entire week so far. An interesting twist, actually, Cliff, is David Cote. Right hip, listed as a right hip injury, limited on, didn't do anything, participate at all. Or because he's not listed for Monday, but he was limited today and yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Could that be a potential issue because he is he's our main kicker?
Yeah, he is the guy, 100%. It's always concerning, especially too after he was able to kick field goals just fine in Winnipeg, with the exception of the one he doinked. But again, that happens to every kicker sooner or later. Mm-hmm. It is concerning, especially too, like you kind of need your hip to kick field goals, whether it's planting your leg or swinging the leg to kick the football. A hip is kind of important for a kicker. So it would definitely behoove Cote and the Alouettes to make sure that he is 100% ready to go and not burn himself out in practice. So it's concerning. I sincerely hope that the Alouettes are doing everything they can to make sure that he's comfortable, and almost, if you got to bubble wrap him, just let him out on Saturday to kick those game-winning field goals, then that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
But is it concerning? Yes, it's always concerning, but here's hoping that, kind of like Trevor Harris, he's had his therapy days and limited in practice, but then come game time, he's ready to go. So let's hope that Cote's in the same boat. So
because the only other kicker that we have on our roster currently is punter Joel Whitford. He's on the practice roster. So I would imagine if the Alouettes are going to be making a change, even if it is for a game, it's funny. You and I were, I think it was I don't remember what the conversation was. We were talking about kickers that we think that deserve to have a shot in the CFL. And I don't remember what it was in reference to. And I can think of a couple of guys that I know would be more than perfect to take this place, even as an emergency kicker.
Well, what prompted it really was the fact that, again, watching Mark Leggio brick his not one but two kicks that could have won the game or kept the game going in overtime for the Blue Bombers. I kind of jokingly said it's more like Mark got no Leggio. So, and if people are pissed off and upset and want to get rid of this guy, like, okay, well, if Winnipeg's in the market for a kicker all of a sudden, Leggio has been pretty good all year for the most part.
Yeah, I know.
But these clutch kicks, you got to make those too. And if you don't feel confident in your kicker, then I can understand why Bomber fans may just want to go shopping for somebody else. In which case, you and I had recommendations.
Yep.
I suggested former Alouette, Enrique Yenny, first global player selected in the first ever global draft for the Montreal Alouettes. He's been doing he had done a fantastic job in the Mexican League this year. Just posting outstanding numbers. So any team in need of a kicker or a punter would be crazy not to give Enrique a call. Mm-hmm. And you've got a former connection with the Arena League.
Yep.
Do you not?
Craig the Leg Peterson. Just go watch this dude kick. He's. And don't slide it just because he's played mostly in indoor football or the Arena League, because my thought is this when it comes to that, Cliff, and you've been into an Arena League game, so you know what I'm talking about. If you can consistently kick in field goals or extra points or these new rules, the extra point rules that they got in these leagues, in uprights that are half the size of what a regulation pro football upright is, then you deserve a shot. Mm-hmm.
So again, there's definitely a market out there. There's a lot of good kickers out there, and not always enough spots. But again, if a team like Winnipeg is all of a sudden not feeling confident in their current field goal kicker, then there are options. If Montreal is concerned that David Cote may not be 100%, then there are options. Mm-hmm. There's options out there. Like, there are a lot of good kickers out there, and people bag on kickers because when they're on, they're great, but when they start making mistakes, then they're the worst people on the planet, which is
I know.
So silly. But
yeah, that's true.
All this to say that yes, there are definitely options. If you're worried about your team's field goal kicker, there are options out there. You just got to know where to look for them.
Exactly. Also, even though it was 2 days this week, Chandler Worthy was full participant this week. Today at practice. It'll be interesting to see when the depth chart comes out who will be where. Will Chandler be a backup to Tyson?
I think you'd have to be at this point, because just look at the body of work he has done over the past 3 to 4 games. Mm-hmm. Tyson Philpott. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not kidding when I say this is your Eastern Rookie of the Year already. It may be crazy to want to hand that out so early. We're only halfway through the season, but the body of work that he has put together the past 3 or 4 games has been outstanding. And I'm not just talking offensively, but you're also talking about on special teams, just doing the things that need to be done. And again, he is still very much a rookie. That's the thing, is a rookie, but he's got that veteran mindset. And I don't know if it's because of who his dad is or this competition he seems to have with his brother Jalen, who just scored his first CFL touchdown for Calgary last week. So I think he was feeling the pressure as well, because actually at one point during CFL Wired, I don't know who it was that was chirping Jalen Philpott, but your brother would have scored 2 times on that. Talking junk about how the fact that Tyson's scoring touchdowns and doing some amazing things on special teams, and now Jalen's got to kind of play catch up a little bit. So, all this to say that Tyson Philpott is that guy. He is proving himself to be that guy. And now when you look at, we'll see what happens when the depth chart comes out, but I mean, it's almost kind of hard to tell him, okay, we appreciate everything you've done while Chandler Worthy's been out and Mario Alford was injured and ended up getting traded to Saskatchewan. We appreciate everything you did there, but now take a seat, rookie.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't see that happening. That's not to say you shouldn't include Chandler Worthy if he's ready to go, but I mean, that makes a pretty decent 1-2 punch when you think about it. Chandler Worthy and Tyson Philpott.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh,
no
boy.
Kidding.
And, someone's going to get a house call for sure of those two. And really just comes down to the opportunity. When will that happen? I'm going to say right now, I got a feeling it'll be sooner rather than later for either of these two guys.
Yeah. Thoughts on the potential return of former Alouettes quarterback Matt Schiltz as potentially the starter versus the Owls, because Dane Evans, still nursing a right shoulder injury of some sort, did not practice at all on Tuesday, was limited today in practice. Thoughts? Well,
definitely it'll be an interesting homecoming for Schiltzy. I mean, again, he spent 4 years in Montreal. He really enjoyed his time here in Montreal. And I think if things could have worked out that he could have come back, that would have been awesome. But would he have been given the opportunities that he's got now in Hamilton? It's hard to say. But now he's been given the chance. He got the W against Toronto, and that was a real spirited affair last Friday. I mean, both teams were just back and forth. This series, these guys are playing each other 4 times, and 4 out of the 5 games are playing against each other. And when it's all said and done, this is going to be a war, and there's going to be a lot of casualties. So this is the opportunity that Matt Schiltz needs to take advantage of. He is a winner. He has proven himself to be a winner in this league. He won games for Montreal last year in the absence of Vernon Adams. He got the win without Dane Evans in the lineup. This is a guy, we have been Matt Schiltz believers for a long time, and I don't know if we really want to face him, quite frankly. We know what he can do if given the opportunity, and he's got some decent weapons in Hamilton to work with.
True.
So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I'm always going to cheer for Matt Schiltz because he is just a great guy on and off the field. But as long as he's wearing that black and yellow jersey, it's just a little bit hard to cheer him right now. For 3 hours, I'm not exactly going to be singing his praises. But he knows what he has to do though. He knows this is the opportunity he was looking for. This is the reason why he went to Hamilton, was in the unlikely event that Damon Evans would get hurt. This would be he knows he has to make the most of these opportunities. And he's going to want to do that. He's going to want to show up and show out against the Alouettes, just to remind them, hey, I was here. I could have been the man here. You didn't believe in me. Now let me show you. Not to mention, too, he's also got his former coach in Kahari Jones, who still is not – he's still listed as a consultant.
Yeah.
But if you don't think for 1 second that he's not working with Schiltzy, trust me, folks, they're coming up with something. They know this team extremely well. I mean, especially Kahari, because, well, he was here 2 months ago. He knows this team extremely well. And Montreal is going to have to really work hard to not be the team that Kahari thinks that they still are. Right. If that makes any sense. I mean, they got to show some new stuff, and they got to find a way to make Schiltz's return a miserable one for him. That's really what it comes down to.
For sure. It is Family Day at the stadium this week. $5 tickets for kids, which is actually a damn good price if you want to bring your child, your son, daughter, niece, nephew, whatever, to the game. That's a great price.
Your youngins. Yeah. Bring the youngins.
Yep. It's supposed to have a whole slew of stuff. Oh, first week of officially having tailgating back at the stadium.
That's going to be huge too, because there'll be bouncy castles. There'll be events for the kids, for the whole family, really, when you think about it. But the return of an actual tailgate for the Alouettes, I think that's pretty big right there as well. So, and Saturday afternoon, folks, I mean, listen, a lot of you do not like these Thursday games, even though
they're done for the year. They're done for the year.
They are, but again, you cannot deny the fact that they drew 17,000 plus, which was their biggest crowd of 2022.
Yep.
So
and largest crowd since the pandemic. So
there you go. So I mean, I'm hoping with that in mind. I mean, if the Alouettes can draw 17,000 on a Thursday evening, which is still technically a school night, even though it's the summertime, like, and some people are on vacation, but there's still a lot of people that had to work the next day. But with this being a Saturday game, could we see? I won't say sell out because that's the ultimate dream, but this is not going to happen. But do you think we could surpass that 17,000? And not by a little bit, but I'm talking like, could we see 18 or even 19,000 this coming Saturday at the game?
Maybe 20K, maybe.
I mean, if you could pull that off, that would be astounding. Like, considering what this Alouettes team is, I mean, I don't see why not. Yeah. I mean, especially too if kids are able to get in for $5, and you got all these activities and you've got stuff going on and you've got a team that just survived an incredible game against Winnipeg. I mean, you got that good mo happening right now. You've got the momentum rolling, and you're taking on to Hamilton, which again is a very good team, but they've had their problems, and I think Montreal kind of feels like they owe the Tiger Cats one, especially towards the end of that game. Knocking Trevor Harris out and not giving him a chance to possibly complete the comeback. Yep, I guarantee you the Alouettes have that in mind. They've got to be thinking about that and thinking of ways to not put themselves in that position again. Exactly. I think they've got to find a way to show that they are a better football team than what they saw, what the Tiger Cats saw 3 weeks ago.
Yep, and the game itself is supposed to be absolutely gorgeous. 30 degrees, early, get there early to have some fun. It's going to be fun, dude. I'll talk to you off air, see what time we're actually going to show up, because we can be there at rope drop for sure if we wanted to, but hey, this is a game without the platoon helmets. So what? It's football, still football, baby. It's still football. So.
And we definitely have to remember to wear sunscreen.
Got to do something, dude. Got to do something. Before we go I just want to at least mention, first of all, congratulations to former Alouettes quarterback Tanner Marsh and his new wife, Chelsea, on getting married just the other day. Congratulations to you both, guys. All the best to you. And hey, again, we hope to see you very soon. But from what we've seen on social media, it looked like a very beautiful wedding. Also,
absolutely.
Yeah. And lastly, got at least mention too, is that former Alouettes defensive coordinator Baron Miles has been hired as the same position for the Bishop's Gators. So it should be, if any of you didn't know, head over. You can always head to a game over in Bishops because they aren't playing in here in Montreal because they don't play in the OQIFC. Was it the QIFC? Yeah, the QIFC now.
No, it's
what is it now?
RSEQ.
Sorry, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it used to be the OQ. You're right. But catch a game, head over to Bishops and catch him at a game and see how he's doing for the Gators this season. So.
Yeah, definitely really excited for Bishops. They'd actually they were planning to hire Jonathan Crompton, former Alouettes quarterback, as their offensive coordinator. Yeah. That didn't quite pan out, but now they've got Baron Miles as defensive coordinator. That is huge right there, folks. I mean, that keeps him in football, keeps him here in Quebec. Mm-hmm. I mean, I couldn't be happier for Baron. And we've had him on the show. We had him on the show earlier this year, and you can hear the passion in his voice. You can tell he loves coaching. He loves being able to share his wisdom, and I have no doubt that Bishops just got themselves a lot better as far as their defensive core goes. Baron Miles is going to get the most out of these kids, and I tell you what, that I think it's the Atlantic University Conference or Atlantic University Association.
AUS, AUS,
AUS, yeah. So that division is always kind of. I don't think it gets the love that it should because it's not as noticeable as the RSEQ or even Canada West. But now with Bishops in there, and now with Baron Miles,
or even the OUA, they seem to be the redheaded stepchild of divisions. But still, it's still great football.
I mean, that's it. It's youth sports football. It's still you got so many good players that are coming out of there, and now with Baron Miles coaching up this defense, I think now they're going to be. I think Bishops will finally once again be a part of the football conversation, at least out for the AUS.
Yeah, exactly.
So once again, congratulations to Coach Miles. I'm glad he landed on his feet. No surprise there that it was just a matter. It wasn't going to be if he coaches again. It was going to be when. And sure enough, come this September. Head on down to Lennoxville. Check out Coach Miles in action. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all.
Exactly. So, Cliff, obviously, we're looking forward to the game. I'm looking forward to seeing you, dude. Should be fun. But again, $5 Kids Day for Family Day at Percival Molson Stadium. It's in the sun, 30 degrees, 4 o'clock start. What better way to spend a Saturday afternoon than at Percival Molson Stadium? So we hope to see you.
Hey, let's not forget, too, Gary Stern, Alouettes owner, has guaranteed the Alouettes will win against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So
hadn't heard that one yet. Okay, good.
He has. And you know what, folks? Come pack the stadium and help prove them wrong. Help bring the noise. And you know what? The hell with it. Bring your air horns. Bring your
baby.
Bring your cow. Bring whatever it takes to make noise. If TSN doesn't like, if the fans watching on TSN don't like it, they can go suck a lemon. Quite frankly, because you know what?
Watch your language there, Cliff.
That's right. I don't want to be fined. But sorry. That one came over me.
Yeah. But I'll see you, dude.
But no, it's
yeah. I know what you mean.
Really, what it comes down to, if you don't like it, folks, if you don't like the noise, then don't listen, or watch on mute, or you know what? Once again, complain to TSN themselves because they're the ones with the microphones.
Yes.
And TSN, if you're listening to this, find the mute button so that all these people stop bellyaching about making noise. Because God forbid people should make noise at a football game.
Just move your mics. Just move the mics. We'll see what happens. You and I don't hear it. We'll just see the complaints. But should be a great day for football. Stay tuned to our socials for any upcoming information or breaking news. And again, Cliff, I'll see you Saturday. And we'll see you also Saturday at the game. Come by Section Y1 and say hey. So everybody here at the Alouettes... Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So everybody here at Alouettes Flight Deck for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on final approach.